The first time I messed up, the first time I got caught, the alarm music made me jump out of my seat. We critics too rarely talk about music or plain old audio design, because it's so easy to get lost in it. Let me state it right at the start. Volume's audio is all around top notch. From the ambient music when you're hiding, to the game's voice recordings. Everything here is excellent. You might expect as much from a game named Volume, but getting audio design up to this level is no easy task. So kudos to Mike Bithell and his team for that. Volume is a game that's greatly reminiscent, and willfully so, of the Metal Gear Solid VR missions. In a simulated setting, you're tasked to run around stealing stuff before getting out, hopefully without being seen. It's a typical stealth affair, but what makes Volume stand out is how its levels are designed to be puzzled out. From the top-down perspective, you can generally figure out how to exploit the predictable AI and make your way through a level silently. Visual indicators make it clear when your actions will be heard by an enemy, ensuring that, in theory, nothing is left to chance. In theory. In practice, Volume can get a little finicky. The game is never hard, but it can be somewhat frustrating, since more often than not, getting seen means you're done for. Part of the problem is that sometimes a few pixels of difference in your actions will make a guard look right instead of left. Often guards would jerk about, causing their vision cones to dart in all directions, trying to find their route back to a starting position after you specifically directed them away from there. Couple these problems with technically interesting gadgets that need to be aimed with the right analog stick, and precision starts to be lacking. Again, the game never really gets hard. Its puzzle-like nature means that there are usually only one or two clear solutions to a problem. You can trial and error your way out, but just observing is more than enough to get the right idea. Experimentation rarely worked in my playthrough, and while checkpoints are frequent and respawns are instant, I often had to wait for my abilities to recharge after dying, which felt exactly like waiting through a loading screen. Volume's levels work like intricate mechanical systems, but sometimes it feels like the tools that you have are not the best to work with them. Actually, the levels tend to move perfectly until you go in and mess them up, as if they weren't meant to be fiddled with at all. This robotic perfection makes sense, since the story involves messing up a tyrannical government. The game takes place in a virtual simulation, but it's quickly evident that your actions in it have an impact on the world outside. That being said, these effects never manifest in-game, and the society you're supposed to be changing with your anarchistic sensibilities feels completely absent. There is an obvious comparison to draw between the antagonist's fascist world and our own contemporary society, but the interplay between the two never develops in interesting ways. Your character, and you, the player, are completely set apart from this world, which makes it hard to care about. In a way, it's not that different from Bithell's previous effort, Thomas Was Alone. The later was minimalistic and about making interiorized characters out of shapes. Volume is supposed to be about the outside world, an outside world that does not actually exist in the context of the game. Which becomes Volume's biggest problem. The game feels disconnected. Volume stands as an idea, a good idea, that never completely materializes. Going back to the sound design, it's still top-notch. This expertly made audio work is an example of why Volume remains in my good graces. The game is packed with craft. Successful or not, the labor and thought put into this game make it stand out. And there are glimpses of this that appear throughout, enough that I'd recommend the game. But I still prefer thinking about Volume more than actually getting down and playing it. Thank you so much for sticking around. If you enjoyed this piece, why not check out one of our other critiques, including this one on Gears of War and this other on Super Mario Maker. Also, we like to take our time with these pieces, and that means we need to rely on your donations to keep us afloat. So if you can't afford even $1, please consider giving us a donation, and if you can't, that's okay, but if you wouldn't mind, I'd love it if you shared this piece with somebody else. Thank you again for listening, and keep talking about games, they're the best.